Every watt of Iceland's electricity is completely carbon-free, and the plant making so much of it has spent 2 years fighting off an actual volcano. Zero fossil fuels, zero exceptions. Iceland's entire electric grid runs on nothing but moving water and heat pulled straight out of the ground. Keep that number in mind. Every figure in this story, the megawatts, the tons, the people evacuated, happens inside a country of about 394,000 people.
So how does a coal-heated capital end up completely carbon-free? It took almost a century, one uncertain pipeline at a time.
It started with a single 3-kilometer pipe, carrying hot water to one house, a hospital, a school, and a swimming pool.
By 1933, barely 3% of the capital was connected. Today, that same underground heat warms about 90% of every home in the country.
The rest of the country was still burning imported oil to stay warm. Then the 1973 oil crisis hit, and Iceland had none of its own to fall back on. Parliament responded by declaring a national goal: eliminate oil heating entirely. It took just 12 years to go from 50% oil-heated homes to 5%. Home heating is basically solved. So why does Iceland still use more electricity per person than any country on Earth? In 2023 alone, Iceland generated about 19.82 terawatt-hours of electricity, an enormous amount for a country this small, and almost all of it stays right where it's made. Divide that by the population, and each Icelander uses roughly 51.9 megawatt-hours of electricity a year. No other nation comes anywhere close. It isn't streaming or heating or anything plugged in at home. Almost none of that record electricity use ever touches a house. While all that power was being made, the land generating so much of it started shaking. By late 2023, geologists knew an eruption was coming. On November 10th, 2023, all 3,790 residents of the town of Grindavík were told to leave. Magma was rising directly underneath their homes.
That was only the first warning. Over the next 2 years, the same volcanic system erupted again and again, 9 separate times in total.
So what happens when lava heads directly for the plant, generating a slice of the nation's power? On February 8th, 2024, Iceland found out. Lava breached the defenses and crossed the plant's main pipeline in under 6 hours, cutting hot water to the entire peninsula, airport included.
Keflavík International Airport lost its hot water that same day. Cold water came back within a day. Hot water took for more.
Despite the damage, Svartsengi's power station kept generating the whole time, protected by a dike engineers had raced to finish months earlier. In under 2 years, crews built roughly 15 kilometers of new earthen walls across the peninsula, racing to stay ahead of the next fissure. The town the plant was defending fared worse. More than 70 homes that were completely destroyed by the lava and the ground cracks it left behind. So Iceland's government did something drastic. It offered to buy every home in Grindavík outright, at 95% of its insured value. The system remains restless. Icelandic authorities still classify the whole Reykjanes area under an active volcanic warning, with more eruptions considered likely for years to come. The famous Blue Lagoon spa sits right beside the plant, and it has been repeatedly evacuated and closed, its own parking lot swallowed by lava in one eruption. While engineers were racing lava, a completely different kind of customer was quietly becoming one of the country's biggest power users. Data centers in Iceland now burn through about 30% more electricity than every household in the country. Combined, cold climate, cheap power, and nobody minds the noise.
Almost all of that server capacity exists for one purpose. Roughly 90% of Iceland's data center electricity goes toward mining Bitcoin, barely any toward anything else.
Iceland now requires any new mining operation to reach net zero carbon within 5 years of connecting, or lose its place on the grid. Data centers already account for more than 5% of Iceland's GDP, a bigger footprint on the economy than most visitors ever notice. As enormous as Bitcoin's appetite is, it still isn't Iceland's single largest electricity customer. That title belongs to something far older and far heavier. So why aluminum and why here? Iceland's very first heavy industry was an aluminum smelter, built at Stromsvík back in 1969 by a Swiss company chasing cheap power. That first plant made just 33,000 tons a year. Cheap, abundant power made it easy to keep building bigger ones after it. The biggest of those expansions needed a dedicated power plant, one built for a single customer before it ever generated a watt. Keflavík became Iceland's largest power station ever built, 690 megawatts. Carved out of the Eastern Highlands over 7 years of construction. The plant's electricity was carbon-free from the day it switched on. What flooded to get there 7 years earlier is a very different story. Its reservoir, Iceland, now covers 57 square kilometers of highland that was once considered one of the largest untouched wilderness areas left in Europe. Before it was built, 45,000 people signed a petition against it, in a country of only about 300,000. The government approved it anyway.
Almost every gigawatt hour it makes was already spoken for before the turbines ever spun. The plant exists to feed one aluminum smelter 75 kilometers away.
So what actually swallows most of Iceland's electricity? 3 aluminum smelters, owned by 3 different foreign companies, and together they change everything.
Norral, Fjerl, and ISAL, 3 plants, owned by 2 American companies and 1 British-Australian mining giant, all drawn by the same cheap, clean power.
Those 3 plants alone account for roughly 80% of everything Iceland's grid produces. Homes, this whole time, were never really the story. So what does all that electricity turn into? Mostly, it turns into metal that never stays on the island at all. In 2023, those smelters turned that electricity into 389 tons of aluminum, a third of everything Iceland sells to the rest of the world. A country running on 100% clean electricity, pouring most of it into export metal. It sounds like the tittiest climate story on Earth. It isn't. In 2023, Iceland's own statistics office recorded 7.85 tons of CO2 per person, well above the world average of 4.76 tons. So if every watt is carbon-free, where does that carbon actually come from? Iceland's own national inventory names the single biggest source: metal production. The same industry running on 100% clean power is Iceland's single largest greenhouse gas source, ahead of every car, truck, and fishing boat. Making aluminum consumes carbon anodes that burn away inside the smelting process itself, releasing CO2 no matter how clean the electricity is. With that much surplus clean electricity elsewhere in the grid, the obvious next question is simple. Why not export it? Iceland has actually tried to answer that. That decision isn't really up to a private company. Landsvirkjun, which generates about 75% of Iceland's electricity, is almost entirely owned by the state itself. The proposal is called IceLink, a 200-kilometer subsea cable to Britain that would be the longest power cable ever built underwater. It's been studied since the 2010s. The UK has never committed the funding, and Iceland's own parliament has never approved it either. For now, every watt Iceland makes stays on the island, split between homes that barely register and industry that takes almost everything else. One clean grid, defended from lava on one front, feeding a Bitcoin boom on another, and mostly quietly still making metal on the third.
A grid that's completely carbon-free, feeding smelters instead of homes, guarded from a volcano that still hasn't finished erupting. That's Iceland's power story. Tomorrow, Vietnam's 80% poverty rate gone. If this was worth your time, hit like, tell me what surprised you in the comments, and subscribe for a new chart every day.